The old battleship drifted in the cold darkness of space like a forgotten grave marker. The USS Iron Will had been built 300 years ago, when humans first reached for the stars. Back then, their ships were simple things made of steel and determination. No fancy energy shields or beam weapons, just thick armor, big guns, and engines that burned fuel the hard way. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge and watched the stars through the main window. The ship creaked around him like an old house in a storm. Every day brought new sounds as metal expanded and contracted in the vacuum of space. He knew each groan and whisper of his vessel. After 2 years out here in the ship graveyard, the Iron Will felt more like home than any planet. "Captain, the morning reports are ready," said Navigator Lisa Torres. She was young, maybe 25, with quick eyes and steady hands. The military had sent her here because she had broken into their computer systems, not to steal or cause trouble, but because she was curious about things they did not want her to see. Morrison took the datapad from her. The reports were always the same. All systems working but old. Hull integrity holding but tired. Crew morale stable but bored. They were watchmen in a museum that nobody visited. "Any word from Fleet Command?" he asked. Torres shook her head. "Nothing new. Same patrol. Orders and same supply schedule, same everything." The bridge door opened with a hiss of air. Engineer Pete Collins walked in, wiping grease from his hands with an old rag. Collins was built like a bear, thick and strong from years of working with heavy machinery. He had been sent here because he kept modifying fleet ships without permission. The brass did not like people who improved their perfect designs. "Morning, Captain," Collins said. "The fusion reactors are running smooth today. Whatever you did to anger the admirals, at least they gave us a ship that still has some fight in her." Morrison almost smiled. Collins was right about that. The Iron Will might be old, but she was built to last. Her makers had expected her to fight in wars that lasted decades, not the quick battles that modern fleets preferred. Every system had a backup, and every backup had a backup for its backup. "Where's Amy this morning?" Morrison asked. "Weapons bay," Torres answered. "She has been cleaning the main guns again. I think she talks to them." Amy Carter was their weapons officer, a small woman with fire in her eyes. The fleet had sent her here because she was too aggressive during training. She had broken too many simulation records and made her instructors uncomfortable. The Iron Will was supposed to cool her temper, but Morrison suspected it only made her more dangerous. The ship trembled slightly. Morrison felt it through the deck plates, a vibration that was not part of the usual patterns. "Pete, what was that?" Morrison asked. Collins frowned and checked his instruments. "Not sure, Captain. All systems show normal, but something just changed." Torres was already at her station, fingers dancing over the old control panels. The navigation systems on the Iron Will were ancient by modern standards, but they were reliable. "Captain, I am picking up something strange. Multiple contacts coming in fast from the outer system." Morrison moved to the captain's chair. It was a simple seat, not like the command thrones on newer ships. "How many contacts?" 12, sir. Big ones. Really big." The main screen flickered to life. The Iron Will's sensors were not the best, but they could see enough. 12 massive shapes moved through space with impossible grace. They were beautiful in the way that dangerous things often were, all smooth curves and glowing lights. These were not human ships. "First contact," Morrison said quietly. After 3 centuries of reaching into space, humans had finally met someone else. Collins whistled low. "Those are some fancy ships, Captain. Look at the way they move. No engine trails, no heat signatures. How do they do that?" Torres was working frantically at her station. "I am trying to get better readings, but our sensors are having trouble. It is like they are made of something that light does not want to touch." The alien ships arranged themselves in a perfect formation. Even from this distance, Morrison could see they moved with mathematical precision. No wasted motion, no hesitation. Whatever commanded those vessels thought in patterns that human minds might struggle to follow. "Are they scanning us?" Morrison asked. "Yes, sir," Torres replied. "Multiple sensor sweeps. Deep ones. They are learning everything about us." The communication system crackled to life. The voice that came through the speakers was strange, musical in places and harsh in others. The words were in no human language, but somehow Morrison understood them. The aliens had translation technology that worked both ways. "Primitive vessel," the voice said. "You drift in the void like debris. State your purpose and your species." Morrison cleared his throat and activated the ship's transmitter. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Iron Will. We mean no harm. We welcome contact with your people." There was a pause. Then something that sounded like laughter came through the speakers. Not cruel laughter, but the kind that comes from seeing something amusing and unexpected. "Humans," the alien voice said, "we have heard rumors of your kind. The galaxy speaks of a young species that builds crude ships and dreams of greatness. You are far from your home worlds, little human. What brings you to this empty place?" Morrison felt his temper rise, but he kept his voice steady. "We are exploring space, same as you, learning and growing." More laughter. The alien was sharing the conversation with the other ships. Morrison could hear multiple voices now, all finding something funny about the situation. "Exploring with this ancient relic?" the alien said. "Your ship registers as 300 years old by galactic standards. Its technology is barely above chemical rockets. Do you still fight with kinetic weapons? Do you still burn fossil fuels?" Collins moved closer to Morrison. "Captain, they are not just talking to us. They are broadcasting this conversation to their whole fleet. We are entertainment to them." Torres looked up from her station with worry in her eyes. "Sir, they are moving closer. Formation suggests they want to surround us." The alien voice continued, and now Morrison could hear the mockery clearly. "War Commander Zeth Cole wishes to examine your vessel. You will submit to boarding and cataloging. Your ship will make an excellent addition to our Museum of Primitive Cultures." Morrison felt something cold settle in his stomach. These aliens did not see humans as equals. They saw them as curiosities, maybe even pets. The Iron Will was not a warship to them. It was a toy. "Pete," Morrison said quietly, "how long to bring all systems online?" Collins understood immediately. "Weapons and shields? 10 minutes if we push it. But Captain, you saw those ships. We would be like a wooden boat fighting steel battleships." "Maybe," Morrison said. "But wooden boats have sunk steel ships before, when the crews were brave enough and smart enough." He activated the ship's internal communication system. "Amy Carter, to the bridge. Emergency stations, all hands." The alien voice crackled through the speakers again. "You will comply, primitive human. Resistance would be both futile and amusing. Your ancient weapons cannot harm vessels protected by quantum shields and temporal armor." Morrison looked at his crew. Torres was young but brilliant. Collins was stubborn and clever. Amy Carter was walking onto the bridge now, and he could see the fire in her eyes as she realized what was happening. "Understood," Morrison said into the communicator. "We will need a few minutes to prepare our systems for your inspection." "Acceptable," the alien replied. "We will observe your quaint procedures with interest." Morrison cut the transmission and looked at his people. They were outcasts and troublemakers, assigned to a forgotten ship in an empty graveyard. But they were human, and humans had never been good at accepting defeat gracefully. "Well," he said, "looks like we are about to make history." Amy Carter reached the bridge with quick steps. Her uniform was stained with gun oil and her hands smelled of cleaning chemicals. She had been working on the main cannons when the alert came through the ship. One look at the tactical display told her everything she needed to know. 12 hostiles, she said, not asking but stating. "Big ones, too." "What are we dealing with, Captain?" Morrison pointed at the screen where the alien ships hung in space like glowing jewels. "They call themselves the Kethvar. They think we are primitives. They want to put us in a museum." Amy's face went hard. She had joined the military to fight, not to be someone's pet in a cage. "What are your orders, sir?" "Get our weapons ready," Morrison said. "All of them. Every gun, every missile, every piece of metal we can throw." Collins was already moving toward the engineering station. "Captain, I need to warn you, if we push the old reactors too hard, they might blow." This ship was not meant for combat anymore. But she was built for it once, Morrison replied. Those aliens think our technology is a joke. Maybe it is time to show them why humans survived long enough to reach the stars. Torres was studying the alien fleet through the iron will sensors. The readings were strange and hard to understand. Captain, their ships are not like anything in our databases. They seem to bend space around themselves. That is how they move, so smoothly. What about weapons? Amy asked. She was checking the tactical systems, bringing targeting computers online one by one. Energy-based, Torres answered. Plasma cannons, particle beams, things like that. But there is something else. Their ships have some kind of shielding that makes them hard to see clearly. Morrison walked to the main viewing port. The alien ships were getting closer, moving in perfect formation. There was something beautiful about the way they flew, like a dance choreographed by machines. But there was also something cold about that perfection. Pete, tell me about their ships, Morrison said. What do you see that I might miss? Collins studied the sensor readings with an engineer's eye. They are integrated, Captain. Everything connects to everything else. Their power systems, their weapons, their shields, it all works together like one big machine. That sounds like an advantage, Amy said. Maybe, Collins replied. But it also means if one part breaks, it might bring down other parts too. Our old ship is different. Every system works alone if it has to. If the main power fails, we have backup power. If the backup fails, we have emergency power. If that fails, we have hand cranks and muscle. Morrison nodded slowly. Human engineers had learned to build things that could break and keep working. The aliens might not understand that kind of thinking. The communication system activated again. The alien voice came through with what sounded like amusement. Humans, our scans of your vessel are complete. Your technology is even more primitive than we expected. You use chemical rockets for propulsion. Your weapons fire solid projectiles. Your computer systems are barely above mechanical calculation. Morrison could hear other alien voices in the background, all sharing the joke. To them, the iron will was like finding a stone axe in a world of laser cutters. However, the alien voice continued, there are some curiosities. Your armor plating is unnecessarily thick. Your weapon systems show redundant construction. Your power distribution follows inefficient patterns. These design choices confirm your species' lack of understanding and proper engineering. Collins looked angry. Inefficient patterns? I would like to see their pretty ships work after taking a direct hit to the main power core. Torres was working at her station, trying to learn more about the enemy. Captain, I am picking up their communication frequencies. They are not trying to hide anything from us. I think they want us to know how outmatched we are. What are they saying? Morrison asked. They are calling this a training exercise, Torres replied. The younger officers are competing for the chance to disable our ship. They think it will be good practice. Amy's hands tightened on her weapon controls. Practice? They want to use us for target practice? The alien voice spoke again. War Commander? Zethkal has decided to make this encounter educational. Junior officers will take turns demonstrating proper boarding procedures on your vessel. You will be kept alive for study. Your ship will be preserved as an example of early spacefaring technology. Morrison felt his crew's anger building. These aliens did not just want to defeat them. They wanted to humiliate them. But anger could be useful if it was controlled properly. Torres, I need you to study their movement patterns. Morrison said quietly. Amy, start charging our weapons, but keep the power signatures low. Pete, how much can you push our engines? Maybe 20% over normal, Collins answered. 30 if you do not mind risking an explosion. I need 40%. Morrison, said. Collins stared at him. Captain, that could crack the reactor housing. We might lose containment. Better than being zoo animals, Morrison replied. The alien ships were arranging themselves in a new formation. They moved with the same mathematical precision, but now Morrison could see the pattern. They were following rules, like a dance where every step was planned in advance. Torres, do you see it? Morrison asked. Torres nodded. They move in predetermined patterns. Each ship has a specific role and position. It is very organized, but also very predictable if you know what to look for. What about their weapons? Amy asked. Energy-based systems work differently than our kinetic weapons, Morrison said. They are used to fighting other ships with energy shields and sophisticated defenses. Our ship might be primitive, but primitive can also mean unexpected. Collins was checking the engineering systems. Captain, I have been thinking about what they said. They called our construction redundant and inefficient. But you know what? Redundant means we have backups. Inefficient might mean we waste energy, but it also means we have energy to waste. Morrison began to see the shape of a plan. The aliens expected humans to fight like other galactic races. They expected energy weapons and shield technology. They expected logical, efficient tactics, but the Iron Will was none of those things. She was an old warship built by people who expected to fight dirty battles in deep space, far from help or supplies. She was designed to take damage and keep fighting. Her weapons were simple but powerful. Her armor was thick because her builders did not trust fancy shields. Amy, what is the maximum range on our main guns? Morrison asked. With standard ammunition, about 50,000 kilometers, Amy replied. But Captain, I have been thinking. We have some special rounds in storage, armor-piercing slugs designed for ship-to-ship combat. They are old, but they should still work. How old? Morrison asked. 200 years, maybe more. They were made when humans expected to fight each other in space wars that never happened. Morrison smiled for the first time since the aliens arrived. Perfect. Old weapons for an old ship. The alien voice crackled through the speakers again. Humans, prepare for boarding. Junior Officer Kextal will lead the first assault team. You will not resist. Any attempt at violence will result in immediate pacification. Morrison activated the ship's communication system. We understand. We are preparing our systems for your inspection. Please give us a few more minutes. Acceptable, the alien replied. Your compliance is wise. Resistance would be futile and painful. Morrison looked at his crew. Torres was plotting attack vectors on her navigation computer. Collins was pushing the old reactors beyond their normal limits. Amy was loading the ancient armor-piercing rounds into the main guns. They were outcasts and troublemakers, but they were also the crew of a warship. And warships, even old ones, were built for one purpose. Positions, everyone, Morrison said. Let us show these aliens what humans do when someone tries to put them in a cage. The Iron Will began to move, her old engines burning brighter than they had in years. The alien fleet watched with what Morrison imagined was amusement. They probably thought the ancient ship was positioning itself for easier boarding. They were about to learn that humans had their own ideas about proper positioning. The first alien ship moved forward from the formation. It was sleek and beautiful, with smooth curves that seemed to bend light around them. Junior Officer Kextal commanded this vessel, eager to prove himself to his superiors by capturing the primitive human ship. Morrison watched the approaching vessel on his tactical display. How long until they are in range, Amy? 2 minutes, Captain, Amy replied. Her hands were steady on the weapon controls, but Morrison could see the tension in her shoulders. Their ship is bigger than I expected, maybe 3 times our size, Collins called out from his engineering station. Reactors are running at 42% over normal. The containment fields are holding, but I cannot promise they will stay that way for long. Torres was tracking the alien movements with her navigation systems. Captain, the other ships are staying back. They really think this is just a training exercise. They are not even keeping their weapons charged. Morrison felt a cold smile cross his face. The aliens' arrogance might be their biggest weakness. They were so certain of their superiority that they were not taking proper precautions. The alien ship slowed as it approached the Iron Will. Morrison could see smaller craft launching from its belly, boarding pods designed to attach to enemy vessels and cut through their hulls. Incoming transmission, Torres announced. The alien voice filled the bridge, younger than War Commander Zethkol, but just as confident. Primitive humans, this is Junior Officer Kextal. You will shut down your engines and weapons. Prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force. Morrison activated the communicator. We understand. We are powering down our systems now. It was not entirely a lie. Morrison was indeed changing their power settings, but not in the way the aliens expected. Collins was redirecting energy from life support and non-essential systems to the main guns and engines. Amy, are you ready? Morrison asked quietly. Yes, sir. Main guns loaded with armor-piercing rounds. I have a firing solution on their command section. The alien ship moved closer, its boarding pods extending like metal fingers reaching for prey. Morrison could see the confidence in their approach. They expected no resistance from the ancient human vessel. Now, Morrison said. Amy fired. The Iron Will's main gun was a simple weapon by galactic standards. It used magnetic rails to accelerate a solid slug of depleted uranium to incredible speeds. The technology was old, brutally effective, and completely unexpected. The slug hit the alien ship's shields at a significant fraction of light speed. The energy barriers that were designed to deflect plasma beams and particle weapons had no idea how to handle a chunk of dense metal moving with such force. The shields flickered and died. The slug punched through the alien hull like paper, tearing through 3 decks before exiting the other side in a spray of metal and atmosphere. For a moment, space was silent. Then alarms began screaming from the alien ship as atmosphere vented into space and internal fires started spreading. Direct hit, Amy reported with satisfaction. Their shields are down and they have major hull breaches. Morrison did not give the aliens time to recover. Torres, attack pattern Delta. Take us. Right at them. The Iron Will surged forward on her overcharged engines. The alien ship tried to back away, but its elegant design had not prepared it for this kind of damage. Systems that had worked perfectly moments before were now fighting cascading failures. Captain, the other alien ships are moving, Torres reported. They look confused. I do not think they understand what just happened. Morrison could hear frantic alien voices on the communication channels. The mathematical precision of their formation was breaking down as ship commanders tried to figure out how a primitive vessel had just crippled one of their most advanced ships. Collins called out from engineering. We have got problems, Captain. That acceleration is putting stress on the hull, and the reactors are running hotter than they should. How much time do we have? Morrison asked. Maybe 10 minutes before something breaks in a bad way, Collins replied. Morrison nodded. 10 minutes would have to be enough. The damaged alien ship was trying to retreat, but Amy had other ideas. She fired again, this time aiming for their engine section. The second slug hit home, and the alien vessel's beautiful propulsion system died in a cascade of explosions. Target disabled, Amy announced. But Captain, the other ships are coming around. They look angry. Morrison could see the alien fleet changing formation. The elegant dance had become a swarm of angry wasps. War Commander Zethkol's voice crackled over the communication system, no longer amused. Impossible. How did you damage our ship with primitive kinetic weapons? Your technology should not be able to penetrate our defenses. Morrison activated the communicator. Maybe you should have studied human history before you decided to mock us. We have been killing each other with rocks and sharp sticks for thousands of years. We got pretty good at it. 3 alien ships were moving toward the Iron Will now, their weapons charging with deadly light. Morrison could see plasma cannons and particle beams preparing to fire. Torres, remember what we talked about? Morrison said. Evasive pattern chaos. Torres grinned and pushed the helm controls forward. The Iron Will began moving in a pattern that made no sense by military standards, instead of the clean curves and calculated turns that space combat usually required. The old ship started jerking and twisting like a fish trying to escape a net. The alien weapons fired, brilliant beams of energy that should have destroyed the human ship instantly. But the Iron Will was not where the targeting computers expected her to be. The beams passed through empty space while the human ship continued her crazy dance. Their computers cannot track us, Torres called out. They are trying to predict our movements, but we are not following any logical pattern. Collins had found another way to help. Captain, I am venting plasma from the damaged reactor. It is creating an interference cloud around us. Their sensors are having trouble getting a clean lock. Morrison saw the opportunity. The aliens were expecting logical behavior from a logical opponent, but humans had never been entirely logical, especially when they were angry. "Amy, can you target their lead ship?" "Working on it, Captain. Their shields are adapting to our weapons, but I think I can punch through if I hit the same spot twice." The iron will twisted through space, leaking plasma and radiation like a wounded animal. To the aliens, she must have looked like she was dying. But Morrison knew better. His ship was old and damaged, but she was far from finished. The alien ships closed in, trying to surround the human vessel. Their formation was perfect, their tactics flawless by galactic standards. But they were fighting an enemy that did not follow galactic standards. Morrison made a decision that would have horrified any sane military commander. Instead of trying to escape the trap, he ordered Torres to fly directly into the center of the alien formation. "Captain, that is suicide," Torres said. "Maybe," Morrison replied. "But if we are going down, let us take some of them with us." The iron will charged into the heart of the alien fleet like an ancient warrior running toward battle, with a war cry on his lips. The aliens, expecting retreat or surrender, found themselves facing a damaged ship that seemed to have gone completely insane. Morrison smiled grimly. Sometimes insanity was the most logical response to an impossible situation. "All hands, prepare for close combat," he announced. "Let us show these aliens what happens when you corner a human." The iron will plunged into the center of the alien formation like a missile aimed at the heart of their fleet. The HFY ships scattered in confusion, their perfect formation breaking apart as they tried to avoid the seemingly suicidal human vessel. Morrison gripped his command chair as the ship shook from weapons fire. The aliens were shooting at them from all directions now, but their targeting systems were still struggling with the iron will's erratic movements and the plasma cloud that Collins was venting from the damaged reactors. "Amy, I need you to target their command ship," Morrison shouted over the noise of alarms and explosions. "Which one is it?" Amy called back, her hands dancing over the weapon controls. Torres pointed at the tactical display, the big one in the center. "It has more communication arrays than the others." Amy swiveled the main guns toward the alien command vessel. It was massive, easily 5 times the size of the iron will, covered in weapons and armor that gleamed with alien technology. But Morrison had learned something important in the last few minutes. Alien technology was not magic. It could be broken. The iron will's main gun fired again. The armor-piercing slug hit the command ship's shields and punched through like they were made of paper. The slug tore into the alien hull, ripping through deck after deck until it hit something important. The command ship's lights flickered and died. Then they came back on, then died again. Morrison could see atmosphere venting from multiple holes in the alien vessel's hull. War Commander Zethkol's voice crackled over the communication system, no longer confident. "All ships, destroy the human vessel immediately. Use maximum firepower. Do not let it escape." But the aliens were learning that their maximum firepower was not designed for this kind of fight. Their weapons were meant for clean, efficient battles between civilized opponents. They were not meant for the kind of brutal, close-range brawling that the iron will was forcing on them. Collins called out from his station, "Captain, I have got an idea. Our cargo magnetic systems are still working. We could use them to launch anything that is not nailed down." Morrison understood immediately. The iron will had been built to carry supplies and equipment for long missions. Her cargo bays were full of spare parts, tools, and machinery. All of it could become weapons. "Do it," Morrison ordered. Collins began launching everything he could find. Spare reactor parts, toolboxes, chunks of metal plating, even furniture from the crew quarters. The magnetic launchers accelerated these improvised projectiles to incredible speeds. The alien ships found themselves under attack from flying wrenches and metal chairs, moving fast enough to punch holes in their hulls. Their sophisticated shield systems designed to stop energy weapons and guided missiles had no defense against a toolbox moving at several kilometers per second. Amy was having the time of her life. She had always been too aggressive for the regular fleet, but here her instincts were exactly what they needed. She fired the main guns again and again, each shot finding weak points in alien armor that their designers had never expected to be tested. The iron will rammed into one of the smaller alien ships. The impact should have destroyed both vessels. But the human ship had been built tough. Her thick armor plating held while the alien ship's elegant hull crumpled like an egg. Torres was piloting like a madwoman, throwing the iron will into turns and spins that would have been impossible for the sleek alien vessels. The old human ship was built simple and strong. She could take punishment that would cripple more advanced designs. Morrison watched the tactical display as the alien formation fell apart completely. Ships that had moved in perfect harmony minutes before were now firing on each other by accident, their targeting systems confused by the chaos that the Iron Will had brought to their orderly battle. War Commander Zethkol was screaming orders, but his fleet was no longer listening to mathematical precision. They were reacting with panic and fear, emotions that their combat algorithms were not designed to handle. Colin's voice cut through the noise. "Captain, the reactors are about to go critical. I can hold them for maybe 2 more minutes, but after that we need to abandon ship or we all die." Morrison looked around his bridge. Torres was bleeding from a cut on her forehead but still flying like her life depended on it. Amy was laughing as she destroyed another alien ship with improvised projectiles. Collins was covered in sweat and grease but keeping their ancient systems running through pure stubbornness. They were going to die. Morrison knew that. The Iron Will could not survive much longer. But they had already done something impossible. They had shown the galaxy that humans were not primitives to be mocked and caged. "Pete, can you overload the reactors deliberately?" Morrison asked. Collins looked at him with understanding. "Yes, sir. Big explosion. Really big." Morrison activated the ship's internal communication system. "All hands. This is the captain. Prepare to abandon ship. Get to the escape pods now." That is an order. But his bridge crew did not move. Torres kept flying. Amy kept shooting. Collins kept the engines running. "Captain," Torres said, "with respect, we are not leaving without you." Morrison felt something tight in his chest. These were not the best and brightest of the human fleet. They were the troublemakers and misfits. But they were his crew, and they were willing to die with him rather than run. "Amy, can you target the alien command ship one more time?" Morrison asked. "Already locked on, Captain," Amy replied. Morrison activated the communicator to address the alien fleet. "War Commander Zethkol, this is Captain Morrison. You wanted to study primitive human technology. Let me show you the most primitive technology of all." The Iron Will, leaking plasma and atmosphere, her hull cracked, and her systems failing, charged directly at the alien command ship. Collins had tied down the reactor overload, turning their ancient fusion plant into a massive bomb. The alien weapons fired desperately, but it was too late. The Iron Will struck the command vessel, and Collins triggered the overload. The explosion was not elegant or sophisticated. It was a brutal chemical reaction that turned matter into energy in the most violent way possible. The blast destroyed both ships instantly and crippled 4 others. But Morrison and his crew were not there to see it. At the last second, Torres had ejected them in an escape pod, using the explosion's shockwave to throw them clear of the battle. They drifted in space, watching the remains of both fleets burn. The surviving alien ships were retreating, their perfect formation broken, their confidence shattered. Morrison activated the pod's emergency beacon. A human patrol would find them eventually. He looked at his crew, all of them bruised and exhausted but alive. "Well," he said, "I think we taught them something about underestimating humans." Torres was monitoring the alien communications. "Captain, they are sending messages throughout their empire. They are warning everyone about human combat capabilities." Amy grinned despite her injuries. "Good. Maybe next time they will think twice before trying to put us in a museum." Collins was looking at the wreckage of the Iron Will. "She was a good ship, Captain. Built to last and built to fight." Morrison nodded. The Iron Will was gone, but her sacrifice had meaning. Word would spread throughout the galaxy that humans were not primitives to be mocked. They were survivors who fought with whatever they had, and they never gave up. The galaxy had learned something important that day. Sometimes the oldest solutions were the most effective ones, and sometimes the most dangerous enemy was the one you dismissed as harmless. Human ingenuity, determination, and pure stubborn refusal to surrender had just announced to the universe that humanity was not going quietly into anyone's museum.